Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health stresses for July 3rd, 2026, and I stress this is a weather forecast. We do maintain additional graphics at tpatw.com. We also have a storefront on Amazon. Looking at the surface map for July 3rd, it's apparent that high pressure is dominating really from coast to coast. There's a little bit of bubble low across west, keeping temperatures down, but that's mostly elevation. There is a weak frontal system stretching all the way from about Bismarck across Minneapolis up to the Michigan Upper Peninsula, and that'll keep some shower and thunder shower activity across the north because of its lift ability, but it's really the flow from the south all the way from the Gulf, the Atlantic, pushing moisture up through the eastern two-thirds of the country that matters. Looking at our vitality index and index of composite of all of the weather elements, and you can see that everywhere east of the Rockies, especially the plains, most importantly the Ohio Valley in the east, remains with some type of weather health stress. Looking at the pressure change map, you can see something rather unusual. It only happens in this really strong portions of July with the Bermuda High, where high pressure is entrenched, and the only place that we're still seeing pressure increase a bit is up in southeastern Canada, because that high pressure is just fully dominating all of the United States. Looking at temperature change, and again, not a lot of activity going on in the temperature change arena, and that's because temperatures are warm and getting warmer. Note that we're still increasing the temperatures here across the south and even pushing it on up into Iowa and a little bit north. We have some cool down, unusually only here in an area across Kentucky into Virginia, and that's in the mountains based on probably shower activity. All in all, not a lot of extreme temperature change because we're already so elevated. And again, the dew point temperature map isn't reflecting a whole heck of a lot, again, because temperature and humidity are both elevated. And you'll note that with this kind of pattern, even though we're not showing significant change, elevated temperatures across the board have a tendency to increase the risk of migraine, and elevated humidity, so widespread, so difficult, tends to have some impact on COPD patients, where the moisture, which is a larger molecule than oxygen, tends to replace oxygen with each breath, and you have to struggle a little harder just to get that oxygen that's needed. Looking at instability, and this actually is a little bit of helpful. We're talking about an ability to get some rain falling out of the air, and it is most significant here through the upper plains and especially in the Ohio Valley. Note that we are still maintaining a rather significant instability across Florida, more showers than thunder showers, and really it just shows there's a risk of showers everywhere from the plains east. Getting more specific, our change in the availability of oxygen in the atmosphere, you can see that we're picking out smaller areas where there is a combination of weather elements that may have a risk of migraine or asthma. And note that there's a migraine risk potential across the northern third, running all the way from eastern Montana across the Dakotas, Wisconsin into upper Michigan, swinging down a little bit into southern Wisconsin and Illinois. The most significant area otherwise of migraine risk is here in eastern Kentucky into western Virginia. And note the asthma and arthritis stresses as typical here in the Pacific Northwest, but note that we have an area here in eastern South Dakota, northeastern Nebraska, and Iowa with a asthma and arthritis stress, and interesting, a little bit of asthma and arthritis stress across northeastern Alabama into northern Georgia. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated, and just be reminded that heat, the overnight heat, is really the most significant aspect, and it will be accumulating as a stress all the way into the weekend.